Well, right now we are joined by His Excellency, the Governor of Abia State, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, one of the amazing things that I've heard, and which I'm actually very excited and expectant to understand, is something we find in the in the report of the National Bureau of Statistics, that Abia State has emerged the third most preferred investment destination. And I'm definitely something that excites you. The question then is, how?
Well, how? There are a few things a subnational leader or leader of a subnational government could do to support the inflow of foreign direct investment. One of them is security. If you work hard on the security of your place, your internal security, then you could have people look your way. The second is governance, institutions around transparency, rule of law, and predictable policies, stability of the polity. And then you can begin to talk about other things which may not be entirely under my control, like electricity and then infrastructure. On all of this, our state since 2015 has been careful and intentional about making sure that Abia remains one of the safest states, not only in Southeast, but in Nigeria. Secondly, Abia is perhaps the most peaceful state in terms of socio-political stability. We have complete harmony between the executive and the judiciary, and between executive, judiciary, and the legislature. And everybody is on the same page in our zeal to make sure that our state begins to grow. Thirdly, we have been careful and strategic about our interventions in infrastructure. We deliberately ensured that the roads we do are the roads that lead to our economic nodes, not roads that lead to the houses of political bigwigs. Because of this policy, we have been able to, in a short while, open up some major economic nodes in our state, and we thank God that people are responding. Unfortunately, we are surrounded by very deplorable federal roads, so it's been a problem trying to access Port Harcourt, which is just 30 minutes away from Abia, because it's a federal road. We can't go to Ikpeazu from Umuahia, we can't go to Ikpeazu from Abia. And all we did was to try to do an alternative route from Ikpeazu to Abia, so that we can get patronage from people from that flank. Today, we have done over 200 completed roads, and we are on about 70 more, which we hope to complete before 2023. We have also been careful in making sure that we mainstream small and medium-scale enterprises, which is the strength of Abia people. And we have been rewarded with the SME award of one of the most popular newspapers in Nigeria today. Beyond that, we have won more than 5 awards at the presidency, individual awards and state awards. Abia State was one of the 5 states that made contributions to the improved rating of Nigeria in terms of ease of doing business. So we've been intentional and careful to make sure that we work on the enablers that will drive the pillars of development in our state. And I'm not surprised. Just a few days ago, Afrexim Bank injected $50 million to support electricity independent power of geometrics in Abia ring-fenced area to support small and medium-scale enterprises. So that, again, will speak positively towards our indices in terms of foreign direct investment. So I'm happy that what we are doing is looking up. By the grace of God, we'll move from made in Abia, made in Abia, to come and make in Abia. That is the philosophy behind the Enyimba Economic City. So Abia is working, and I thank God that before the end of 2023, we'll be in a better place.
Well, Your Excellency, it's quite cheering to hear all those, and one can only hope and pray that things get better. But when you mention roads, it only brings to mind that issues that were raised by the NBA in Abia State concerning roads. We understand that they were just about to embark on a strike, called it off by the intervention of members of the NBA in your government. They were about to go on strike because of the poor state of roads. But that, of course, that has been suspended now. And so I'm wondering, how are the people in Abia taking on board these developments in the light of that strike that's just recently called off by the NBA in Abia State?
Well, I thank God that there was no strike, and there is no strike anywhere. And run up to 2023, one expects to see all kinds of things. In Abia alone, we have completed over 45 roads. And the best way to respond to you is to say that there is no inch of road in Abia today which you are applying and people are enjoying without my signature. Because you must benchmark your assessment of an individual from where he is coming from. And I have even done the internal roads within the high courts. And all we are trying to say is those who want to instigate protest in Abia should come and listen, so that you hear firsthand, and we'll hear from you which roads you are complaining about, which are the roads you are complaining about. I understand that some lawyers have issues with Fox Road. Fox Road is a major road that leads into area. And the position of government is that this is a road we handed over to Heartland, which is a subsidiary of Citraco. And in the past 24 years, this city, Abia, have not had the benefit of a grade A contractor working on the roads, except this time that we brought Heartland, a subsidiary of Citraco, and we have Arab contractors working at Umaya. When you give a road to Citraco to do, it means you are serious about getting the best value for that road. For 30 years, that particular road has been locked down. Nobody could move from one end of the road to the other. But through the engineering prowess of Citraco, they were able to open the road and solve a perennial problem around a place they call Ukumango. But as they were working on this road, they blocked the road, and the traders could not go to area because incidentally that road is the road that leads to area. And pressure came. Some members of the NBA, some religious leaders came and appealed to government to please prevail on Citraco to allow them use the road. And when I did that initially, Citraco said they will not because they were yet to do the wearing course of that road, and it's still under construction, and they will not guarantee that that road can take the heavy Ikpeazu load of building material traders conveying their goods to and fro on that road. But at times, government will take a decision to please the people and suffer whatever the consequences may be. And unfortunately, I prevailed on Citraco because I was trying to give a human face to all of this, and they started using the road. They've used the road for quite some time, but the rains of this year got some spots on that road very, very bad. And the company has been remobilized to go back and complete the road and make sure that it doesn't become that vulnerable again. But so it's a road under construction. And if you are protesting against a road under construction and the contractor hasn't exited, are you blaming the contractor or you are blaming government? What are you protesting about? So our prayer is that these very highly respected bodies in our state should not yield themselves to political manipulations run up to 2023.
Okay.
Which is what every person in that position expects.
Well, just 1 second, Your Excellency. We need to take a couple of messages, and then we will be back in a moment to continue this conversation. So please stay with us. His Excellency, the Governor of Abia State is still with us, Governor Ikpeazu. He joins us virtually. Your Excellency, once again, thank you very much for your time this morning. Well, the issues that you have raised, especially about infrastructure, of course, everyone knows how important that is. I know you've talked about your intervention in the power sector as well. And you even said, recently, that as far as you're concerned, the problem of power, the power sector in Abia State is going to be a thing of the past. Is it already, or how soon should we look forward to it? Because, as you said, it is very important to the micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Yeah. I think there is every reason for us to be hopeful that between now and next 6 months, we will be very, very definite about how things will pan out. Where we are today in terms of provision of power for my people is certainly better than where we were yesterday on account of this financial closure and respite which Afreximbank brought to bear. And permit me to use this also to say that Afreximbank is not a frivolous bank. And before they will invest 50 million US dollars, they would have studied the ecosystem and the prospects of the ecosystem and tie it with what we are doing as a government. If I can paraphrase the comments of the president of Afreximbank on that joint showcation of that signing, he beckoned on me to share what my strategy was, how I managed to bring all of this together, because he smartly tied up the impetus power would give to our Enyimba economic city, which is the most brilliant free trade zone in Nigeria today. I mean, in terms of packaging and prospects. And if you have a combination of such a futuristic project that promises to take away 650,000 youths from the streets, with the impetus of power, you will now know that we have created an economic magnet that will bring and attract people to the Enyimba ecosystem for business. So we've been intentional about making this happen, and that is despite all the challenges we've been facing. So I'm very happy that in 6 months' time, we will be definite about the commissioning dates.
It's actually definitely something to look forward to, Your Excellency, given how important power is not only to business, but also to health and education. But then, while infrastructure development is going on, it would also be good to talk about human capital development and conditions of service. For instance, there are some allegations making the rounds that Abia State government hasn't paid salaries of some staff in the health sector and even in the polytechnic of the state for more than 20 months now. And is that correct, or is it something that the government is working on?
Okay. There are two categories of public servants in Abia State. The civil servants, which number about 24,000, they work in the various ministries. None of them is being owed any salary. However, we have some departments and agencies that are supposed to be revenue generating entities. At some point, the Abia State Polytechnic had a student population of about 15,000, which will give them close to 3 billion every year. And they collect the money and appropriate to themselves. The job of government is to pay subvention to support capital development and expansion and research in those institutions. I cannot take up the burden of paying the salaries of a revenue yielding entity, which collects the revenue and does not pay one dime into the coffers of government. The reason is simple. I was a lecturer myself, and the head of that institution has the right to decide to go and bring Zuckerberg to come and teach ICT. If he does that, he must be willing to pay. And in doing that, he will not take permission from me. He can decide to hire Professor Wole Soyinka to come and teach literature. And if you want to hire Professor Wole Soyinka, you must be willing to pay. So there has to be a balance between what you are spending and what you need to run your school. And that decision and determination has to be made by the leadership of that institution. So I am not yielding myself to painting everybody with the same brush. And I don't treat frivolous people with kid gloves. So this is my way of saying to those departments and agencies that are revenue yielding in the state to sit up. We have had Abia State University responsibly run by a vice chancellor for 4 years that did not go on strike, and they were not owed at that time. The music was truncated by COVID because the students didn't come to school and school fees were not paid. That was when Abia State University started having a big problem, and we're looking for ways of providing a bailout. So there is no time for free lunch anymore. And I cannot be coerced or blackmailed by what people say in the media to put my money in a pocket that is torn. If a bucket does not have capacity to contain liquid, I will not put my water or my precious liquid in that bucket. I will insist that the right things are done. I must see the right balance. I give you another example. That polytechnic you mentioned, for instance, at some point had 60 people manning 2 gates. 60 people manning 2 gates. They had over 150 people working in canteen that is supposed to be pay as you go. They had over 35 people manning a sick bay that is outpatient. So how am I going to get money to pay? We have over 5 million people in Abia State. So why should I be encouraging that kind of thing? I have given them a bailout of 2 billion naira in one fell swoop. And I told them at that time to make sure that they use this 2 billion, pay off whatever they are owing, and go ahead and pay themselves. I will only pay subvention, and that is my position and the position of government. I will release subventions to agencies and departments that are revenue yielding. And the subventions are specific for development, infrastructural development, and research. It is not for, you're not supposed to misappropriate it also. So that is the issue, and I am unrepentant about it.
Is that also correct, Your Excellency? Is that also true for the Abia State University Teaching Hospital?
Oh, yes. Abia State University Teaching Hospital is also a revenue yielding entity. However, I have special sympathy for Abia State University Teaching Hospital because it is also involved in teaching and research. But they claim that the revenue they generate every month is about 13 million naira. And their resident doctor's salary is about 16 million naira. and they get 130 million from government every month as subvention. Why are they owing the resident doctors? Is that their internal generated revenue not sufficient to offset at least the salary of the resident doctors? Here is also an institution that I have, because I told them that my strategy is to do two things. One, that I will support equipment and infrastructural development, and then that they must use the equipment and the infrastructure we're providing to ensure that they render service to the people, so that the hospital will become popular and people can start coming. And I have given, I cannot remember exactly the figure of how much equipment I have imported from America and handed over to that school over the last 4 years. But if you go to that place, you find out that most of those who are supposed to be on duty are not on duty. And because they are not regular on duty, a lot of people find it difficult to patronize that institution. So we are working on it. I am not going to give up on Abia State University Teaching Hospital. I will continue to support them, but I must also whip them to line so that they can do the needful. Management has to be right, and they have to do the right thing, and they have to be on duty. The road leading to the University Teaching Hospital was bad, but now I have done that road because they claimed it was because of the road that people were not coming. But I have found out that patients come to that place and they divert them to their private clinics. So it's a big problem, and I hate to pay, you know, the Bible says that a worker deserves his wage, but that is somebody when he works. If you have not worked, which wage are you deserving of? You know, so I think that we should find it in our hearts to help the system. And if you don't come to work and you expect to be paid, it is serious. Because what you have done is to inadvertently kill the institution. So I'm not going to give up on them. Whatever outstanding they have, we'll keep paying. I hope that by December we'll be able to look at it once again and pick up the ones we can pick up. Sometime in the past, I have given them 13 months salary arrears, and I paid that in one check. And it should be known to the public that at that time I had not stayed 13 months in government. So this has been a recurrent problem, which I inherited. And I'm working hard to make sure that even in the midst of other things that I want to do, that I also look at their issues.
A few months ago, when we took up, Your Excellency, a few months ago when we took up this issue of non-payment of resident doctors, your state topped the list of those who had not paid resident doctors. You've stated what your challenge is, but don't you think that 20 months is a long time for doctors to be owed as a result of, you know, your dissatisfaction with the management of the hospital?
That is not exact. I didn't say that they are being owed because of problem with management. In the first place, I'm not too sure it's 20 months. I don't have my facts off my fingers here. But whatever thing it is, nobody should be owed. But I'm saying that if you are running a hospital and you want to get paid, the way to go is not to stay at home or to take away patients that come to those hospitals to your own private clinic. The way to go is for you to work. Government will do two things, not only paying you salary, because paying you without equipment in that hospital will amount to not giving the people optimal service. So I said I was going to provide equipment, and I've given more than 2 container load of medical equipment. And I have more, I have 6 more container of medical equipment that I'm also prepared to give them part of. And I said, you must work, you must be diligent in serving the people at your duty post. Then you must use the equipment that I have provided while we work on making sure that as the people are coming, your revenue will go up, and then whatever subvention we bring can bring us to a place where we can solve the problems one day soon. But if you go to a place and the teaching hospital will take delivery of only
you.
6 deliveries in a
You've
month.
talked about revenue generating entities, if I hear you correctly. You've talked about the polytechnics and how they're generating revenue. But oftentimes, when people talk about education and they talk about health, those services are perceived oftentimes to be social services, many times heavily subsidized by government intervention. Are you seeing them as revenue generators of your government, or you're seeing them as part of the services which you will provide for the people of Abia?
I'm saying that for the polytechnics, for instance, revenue generation is not to say that they are competitive in the market. There are schools in Nigeria that charge 4 million naira, 4.5 million naira per medical student. But if a school charges 350,000, 500,000, it is subsidized because people are paying 4.5 million naira in Nigeria. What I'm saying is that the one you have collected, you must account for it. If you collect 2.5 billion naira a year, well, are you going to tell me that if it's used to pay salary, that heavens will fall? And government, talking about subsidy, subsidy is not a very simple thing to do, and it is not, certain things must be allowed to grow organically. There are categories of schools, even overseas. I know of some schools overseas that charge as high as $75,000 tuition. So if you put your child, education cannot be said to be a cheap thing, neither is health a cheap thing. That is why we have health insurance. And Abia State has keyed into the basic health insurance for pregnant women. If you put to bed in any of our primary health care centers, you get 500 naira free. They give you, delivery is free, they give you a delivery pack, and they give you 500 naira. That is running for the vulnerable members of the society. But if you want a certain level of Medicare, you should be able to pay until we get to a point where everybody can, the health system can be insured. So I'm only saying that you cannot take away the patients to your private clinic, and the little one you are getting in that hospital will not come, and you are sitting in your hospital and you are claiming that somebody is owing you.
Your Excellency, let me quickly clarify this. You say that when pregnant women give birth in your facilities, they get 500 naira. Is that correct?
500 naira, yes. Yes, and the backpack.
What is the 500 naira for, sir?
Free delivery. They give you 500 naira to it could be for anything. Are you asking a poor woman what she will do with 500 naira? Some people don't have it. Yes.
Well, I'm just trying to put it in context. When you look at how much, for instance, say, how much you're charging as school fees in Abia State Polytechnic or even the university, there'll be questions as to what 500 naira really can do for someone who just gave birth. When you look at the cost of even baby items in the market.
See, the delivery is free of charge. You get a bath pack, delivery pack, set of whatever you need to clean your baby and take care of your baby is given to you. And in addition to that, you get additional 500 naira. At least it will pay your way back home. Are you suggesting we pay people for for delivering children?
Well, you're the one who's embarking on the policy. Well, that's why we have to ask you what exactly the 500 naira is for. But let's move away from, social, because and for a number of people, they'll actually be a little worried that you do not know for sure how much resident doctors, how many months resident doctors are being owed in your state. They have come up with a figure as of the last time we checked, which was about 3-4 months ago. They say that it was about 20 months. So if it was 20 months as at 3-4 months ago, if nothing has been done about it till now, it certainly will be around the region of 25 months. You're not able to dispute that.
No, I'm not going to. But I have said the most important thing, which is nobody should be owed even 1 month. nobody should be owed even 1 month. But I don't want to be melodramatic about it. I am saying that everybody has a role to play if we have to firm up the system. You have forgotten that I mentioned here that I paid 13 months in one fell swoop in 2016. By the time I had not even stayed up to 6 months as governor. So it's been an issue.
The determination then should be that you would not owe any during your own administration.
Oh yeah, my administration is still running and we're working hard on it. If everybody sits up, I have given you an example of an institution that their management told the path of rectitude and we were able to keep them running for 4 years without problem. It is possible, it is doable. We have done it in some institutions. So there is a reform going on, and you must key into that reform if you want things to work.
Let's move to the issue of security now. The Southeast in general has, seen an upheaval. There's been the question of agitations by IPOB. There's also been some farmer herders problems before now. In your state, what exactly would you say are the solutions? Because the Southeast, we know in general, Southeast governors came up with Ikpeazu as one of the solutions to their problems. Were you able to successfully establish Ikpeazu, or do you think that the problems of security which you faced in your state required a different solution?
Well, thank you very much. I want to say in the first place that the security issues in the Southeast has not been properly diagnosed. It is not the same type of problem we see in, for instance, Northeast. If we diagnose the problem properly, and then we can be able to provide solutions. But I am happy to say, and to God be the glory, that Abia State is one of the safest states, not only in this geopolitical zone, but in Nigeria generally. And our strategy first was to look at what causes the problem between herders and farmers. And we set up, since the past 2 years or so, herder-farmer conflict resolution committees at the various local governments. And members of that committee include whosoever is the leader of the Hausa community in that area, the DPO, the civil defense, the DSS, and then the local government chairman. And their duty is to intervene quickly and take complaints from farmers, assuming they have somebody heads cow to trample on their crops. And then if the farmer gets angry and the cow is killed, let them intervene, and then government pays some compensation for such losses, making it difficult for our people to take laws into their hands, which has been the problem of herder-farmer conflict in other places. When the issues escalate and maybe not resolved at the local level, the Commissioner of Police sits as chairman of the state herder-farmer conflict resolution committee, and it has worked. So we talk about all the conflicts, we discuss it, and then we get it resolved one way or the other. Back to Ikpeazu, yes, we have established Ikpeazu in Abia State, but the duty and mandate of Ikpeazu in Abia State is slightly.
Oh dear, I'm pretty sure that will be
sincerely.
Okay. Please go ahead, Your Excellency. We lost you for a second.
Ikpeazu in Abia State is not supposed to take up arms against any AK-47 wielding people, but they will gather intelligence, and they are largely drawn from hunters, palm wine tappers, and some farmers and local vigilante people, and we equip them with bicycles, Android phones to take pictures and transmit through the ward leadership of Ikpeazu to the local government leadership, and then finally to the state, assuming it escalates. And we have done well, picking pieces of information, strange movements, and that is why Abia State has remained relatively quiet. Beyond giving God the glory, I think we are intentional about making sure that our state remains safe for investors.
Well, that's cheering news, but just one last thing before we go, Your Excellency. And this is more on a national level. There's been a lot of talk about, getting young people involved in governance, giving young people a sense of belonging in the scheme of things in a country. If you would advise a roadmap, whether at the subnational levels, the states, or even at the federal level, what would be your own strategy? What would be your counsel on how we engage young people and integrate them into the system in order to have them in leadership for now and in the future not too far away?
Yeah, I think there is a model that has been practiced somewhere. I don't know where it's talking or somewhere. I've advocated it elsewhere. And that is to gather young Nigerians from all over the world. Go to Princeton, go to Harvard, go to Oxford, go to University of Nigeria, Soka, go to Ibadan, go to Ahmadu Bello, wherever you see them, people within the age bracket of 18 to 35. Bring them together and ask them, put them in one place. It is my own kind of conference. Put them in one place for 6 months and ask them to, segregate them into different areas of endeavor. Some engineering, some ICT, some economists, some medical people, and then some agri people, and then ask them to come up with a blueprint of the kind of Nigeria they want. I think it was Turkey that did that. Okay. Let them tell us about, because Nigeria belongs to them and not to me.
Do you see how, that possible? Do you see us being able to achieve that in Nigeria in just 10 seconds, Your Excellency?
Yeah, why not? Why not? That is the only way. You must hand this thing over to the youth and let them tell us the kind of Nigeria they want, because we have spent our time and wasted most of it, my generation.
Well, Your Excellency, this other thing, you've heard the Speaker of the House of Representatives say one of the reasons for championing the direct primary in the Electoral Act is so that young people can also be integrated. What's your own take on this issue of direct primaries? Because we understand that some governors are not on the same page with the National Assembly on it.
Direct primaries is good, but that decision has to be left with political parties. You can't legislate the growth or the dynamics of a political party, because predominantly the National Assembly is populated by people from a particular political party. And if majority in that National Assembly will have their way, what it means is that this political party wants to foist the internal mechanisms on another political party. Those who believe in direct primaries and those who don't believe in direct primaries should be allowed to evolve side by side and present themselves to Nigerians. Let Nigerians ultimately decide which system is better. But when you come and say, that is my problem, and again, it is going to be a bad law, because it seems to me that it is targeted at a group of people, that they don't want this group of people to have dominance or whatever. And
oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, dear, dear. Just about the time we were supposed to say thank you, but then we also say thank you nonetheless. Just one of those things we have to deal with when it comes to technology. Governor Ikpeazu, His Excellency, the Governor of Abia State, thank you so much for your time this morning on the program. And with that, we'll wrap up Sunrise Daily this morning. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
And I'm Malkwell Green Yusuf. See you next time.